Hi there, I'm Jenny Tomes, and this little lesson is presented by Port St. Lucie Utility Systems, connected to the community since 1994. On today's little lesson, we are focusing on fog factors. Now, if you've watched little lessons before, you may have heard me talk about fog and what fog is, but just in case you haven't seen any, fog in my universe at Port St. Lucie Utility Systems stands for fats, oil, and grease. So we're here in the kitchen today because this is where the household fog is coming from. That household fog, fats, oil, and grease, enters the sewer system. And when it does, it really causes a lot of problems. So let's first talk about what kinds of fog are coming from your kitchen, okay? All right, so fats. I actually just fried up some delicious bacon. Poor bacon is always getting blamed for the grease and stuff. There's a lot of other places that you can find fats, oil, and grease in the kitchen. But first of all, let's just start with bacon because it's my favorite of all the fog. So what you're left with in the pan is this grease, right? All right? So if I were to just leave this in the pan, it will eventually harden, okay? So you can imagine how it could enter the sewer system. Now you already know that anything that goes down that drain enters the sewer system. That's all the wastewater that leaves your house. It leaves out of a pipe that looks something like this, and then it connects with other pipes out in your community underground, and all of those pipes take all that wastewater to the wastewater treatment plants. We have two of them here in Port St. Lucie. So once all that wastewater leaves your house, it all gets together. So everything from the bathroom that you flush, everything from the kitchen, the dishwasher, the washing machine, all of that wastewater joins together and enters the sewer system. So back to fog. All right, so if I were to dump this down that sink, here's what happens. It is going to harden and form this layer around the inside of your pipe, okay? So what doesn't harden keeps going, right? Keeps making its way through the sewer system and eventually ends up at the wastewater treatment plant. So some of the fats, oil, and grease will harden and form this coating around your pipe, but then you have other things. So think about some of the other sauces and different things that you're using. So, I mean, this salad dressing, this is a teriyaki sauce. Think about honey and syrup. Those things are all sticky, right? So they might not necessarily harden, maybe at some point, but they mostly are going to make their way through all of that wastewater and enter the wastewater treatment plant. But things like peanut butter and butter, cream cheese, that kind of stuff, you know, will just mix up with all of that wastewater and end up at the wastewater treatment plant. So it's really important to dispose of all this properly and not let it go down the sink. So if you have dinner one night, you know, you have a lot of leftovers on your plate, you want to make sure that you scrape all of those leftovers, as much, even if it's syrup on the bottom of that plate, try to scrape as much of it as you can into the garbage before you put it in the sink, okay, and then wash it, because again, it feels like all of that stuff is going away, even if you have one of those garbage disposals, right, that kind of grinds up everything. It can't grind up syrup. That syrup is still going to make its way into the pipes, and it's still going to cause problems, and it's going to coat the pipes just like this one here. So for bacon, a lot of people actually reuse the grease, right? Reuse it for a future something that they're cooking. So you can pour it into a can, freeze it or refrigerate it. You can wait until it hardens and then use a spatula to scrape it into the garbage can. This grease is cool enough now. I would actually just dump this right into my garbage because everything that's in there will soak it up. And then it goes to the landfill, which is where it should be going. It should not be entering the wastewater treatment system. And let me give you another reason as to why. So you may remember from a previous little lesson about our wastewater treatment process. So as soon as all that wastewater comes into the plant, you can imagine what it looks like. It's brown, right? I mean, some people are flushing trash and things like that. So when it first enters the wastewater treatment plant, that trash has to be separated out, okay? If there's a lot of fog that gets to that point, that separator has no ability to separate out the fog. I mean, think about, so I just have a regular glass of water here, right? I'm going to pour some oil into it, okay? And you probably can guess, but oil doesn't really mix well with water. See how it all just sort of floated to the top? But if you had me just try to scoop this out, I'm never going to be able to get it all. Sure, I've got some in my spoon here, but I can't get all of this. I can't separate this oil from this water. It's in there. And even as it makes its way through the wastewater treatment plant, that oil still stays in there, okay? So fast forward to the end of the treatment process. Once we get to the end of the treatment process, the wastewater is completely clear and it's highly disinfected. Then at that point, we can send it to our customers who use it for irrigation purposes. So they use it in big neighborhood communities to water their golf courses or to water huge green spaces. We're true environmentalists here at Utility Systems, so we want to make sure that even our wastewater gets reused and repurposed. So that cleaned up wastewater is referred to as either reclaimed water or reuse water, because we're reusing it, right? We've reclaimed it, right? So we're going to water all of those green spaces with it. So when we can't clean up the fog, here's what it looks like coming into the plant. Kind of has the consistency of peanut butter. Okay, so that's a large fog deposit that's entered the wastewater treatment plant, and we can't just separate that out with machines. Our friends, here's some of my friends, my coworkers, this is Katie and Bruce. They actually have to, by hand, remove that fog, and again, you can only remove so much of it. Remember this, you can only scoop out so much of it. You can't get every little drop of fog. So here's another picture. Hope you aren't eating lunch. Here's another picture of a tremendous amount of fog that's entered, and what Katie and Bruce have to do, and their coworkers, they have to scoop all of that out. And you know where it goes? The landfill. That's where it goes anyway. Remember in the beginning when I told you to scrape everything into the garbage? You just skip the middleman, right? Skip the middleman and leave poor Katie and Bruce alone so they don't have to scrape this stuff out, okay? So again, we need that wastewater, that highly treated wastewater, reclaimed or reused water, so we can help our customers irrigate and water their golf courses and big community green spaces. So if we can't get the water cleaned up enough to the highest standard, we can't supply them with this reuse water. There's too much fog in it still, and it doesn't meet those high standards. We have to give them drinking water. We have to dip in to our drinking water resources so they can water those golf courses and community green spaces. That's not a good use. That's not very environmentally friendly, is it? So at home, even if it's not you helping with the cooking or helping with the dishes, the people in your home, if you see them dumping grease, dumping fats and oils down the sink, please tell them. Please tell them what you learned here today. Please tell them that that is not good for our sewer system. It's going to cause a clog. It's going to coat your pipe. But moreover, we aren't able to create reuse or reclaimed water for our customers. So any help that you can give us would be so appreciated. Just think of Katie and Bruce. They appreciate you. They appreciate you spreading this around your house to the other people that you live with. So thank you so much for joining us today. If you have any questions, if you have any ideas for a future little lesson, please let me know. Just have to send me an email to jtomes@cityofpsl.com. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day.